retargeting is one of the things which I am trying to focus on convincing them that even on iOS retargeting works. It becomes very, very important because most of the myth is like, guys, I don't have a device ID, you will waste my impressions, right? And I'm saying, no, why you think that? Look at that. Look at how your non-organic user behave and versus the user you target.
So here we are back at the Full Funnel App Growth Series on Mobile Groove, powered by Aarki, where we're not just talking about full funnel growth, we are breaking it down. What is it going to be like in a privacy-first world? And in this series, if you've been following it, and of course you should be, we've been talking to marketers. We've been talking to, for example, apps, Rovio we had already. And so it has become, and you've told me on social yourself, it's part podcast and it's part masterclass. So we're going to continue in that and talk about the topic that is top of mind, makes sense because it is so important, but it is ever changing. And we're talking about SKAN, privacy first measurement, because how do you keep growing when your data feels delayed? It feels disjointed. It's aggregated. Sometimes it just feels wrong. So joining me is Rajeev. He's VP of Product at Aarki, and he's also one of the key voices in the playbook. Rajeev, we'd have had many conversations, a little bit of a mind meld. So first of all, it's great to have you back. And of course, great because we are moving into the new year. So absolutely the timing for a new mindset, a new framework, some new ideas, and you're that person. So first of all, great to have you here.
Thank you.
And speaking about SKAN, that is your area in the playbook. And it's also, people come to you. I mean, they confide in you. They say, yes, we're going to ignore SKAN, or no, we are getting ready. So as I said, we're heading into 2026. What are you telling them when they confide in you, what they're doing, whether that's a strategy or a denial?
I mean, it is sometimes people deny it. Okay, it's the way it is. We have probabilistic solution. That's how we're gonna work. But the biggest concern is they don't know why Apple did it. What is SKAN? Right? So I think making them understand is the toughest job right now. And even for every marketer that we have, I think it's the same issue.
Again, this is about understanding SKAN. So it makes sense to start at the very beginning. I mean, there are definitions and we've seen them in presentations, we've seen them in PowerPoints, but if you had to explain SKAN in one or two sentences to a marketer now in plain language.
In simple terms, it's Apple privacy focused attribution framework for measuring mobile app ad performance, where because of the restriction of user privacy, the data will be aggregated, delayed, and it won't be without device ID. Anyway, doing user acquisition is not easy. Now they're gonna remove device ID where the install has come, and also data will be aggregated. So yeah, lot tougher for demand side partners.
We've talked about the definition. Let's look at the landscape because that is not as clear. Actually, it's a mess because on Apple side, we're talking about, of course, we have SKAN 5, but we're talking about ad attribution kit. On the horizon, Google privacy side, I don't need to tell you, Privacy Sandbox has morphed several times. So what am I thinking as a UA or growth lead? I'm saying to myself, what is the landscape I'm working with? And do I double down on SKAN now or wait for the next thing? Because, hey, it's a continuing cycle. So give us a reality check. Where are we now? How would you describe where we are now and what marketers need to be doing right now?
So SKAN 5 is gonna come very, very soon. SKAN 4 is already here.
Yeah.
SKAN was launched in June 2021, and Apple has been doing release every alternate years or maybe every year. So yes, privacy is not gonna going away. Android will do something, and if you're not trying to put yourself in moving in that direction, it's gonna hit us. It's gonna hit some marketer very badly.
I'm talking to some marketers and they're saying, for them, it's just be ready for all of the above. We can't really tell what the platforms are going to do. You don't really know what it's going to be, but it is going to be something. I think that gives some direction.
Yeah. And if you are spending money on in-app advertising or even on web, you can't just sit. You have to incorporate scan and privacy centric solutions in their BI, in the attribution, the way data is transfer happening. So everything gonna change, and Apple will do that, and it's happening. As it's not denial, it's happening.
So something you can bet on. And if I replay that in my mind, it's like, okay, I get less detail in my data and I get it later. But of course, my budgets, my targets, they aren't smaller or slower. They happen now. And I follow a plan. So, this is in the playbook, what we talked about in the full funnel growth playbook. And you spin a positive here. I have to give you credit, Rajeev. You're talking about the data blackout, and you're bold and you say, okay, all right, well, postbacks are not just data points, they are decision points.
There is a data blackout. What it means is data is delayed. It's not that we're gonna not get the data. We will get the data. So marketers here need to be a little bit positive here, that the way if they are spending money, yes, the money will not be that efficient in first few days, maybe day 7. Okay, but as the data mature, as we move to week 3rd, week 4, day 30, it's gonna be much cleaner data, and it will be much more deterministic as compared to any other solution that MMP has provided. So there's no issue of over attribution, but yes, it is a painful process. It's gonna be painful for everyone, to the marketers, to the demand side partners, even for the publisher who's getting the payout for that. Okay, so yes, it is a painful process. There is a data blackout, uh, delay. I would say it's delay, and yes, we don't know what's going to happen on day 4 once you get the post back. So yes, but it's a just, I would say it's a sanity check, and then if we cross that level, everything looks fine. I mean, that's what our experience has been while talking to marketers.
And to be fair, all marketers are going to be equal here. I like that in a recent blog as well, and this might be sort of what you develop more in 2026, because we certainly need it. Frameworks are welcome. Frameworks are important because we need a plan. We need a plan in something that is so undefined as where we are right now. But you define it. You have a timeline. You talk about the simple 3-step timeline. I love the word simple. That makes it sound like we're all going to grasp this. So um, help me see SKAN not as a
Mhm.
blackout, but as a timeline. Maybe you want to walk us all through these windows and the reality checks you do at each step to make it more solid, more
Yeah,
predictable.
when you first start scan, what happens? Like, because of the privacy, you will not know if the user is doing any activity or not, or what type of activity is doing. That was a massive issue on scan 3. The way Apple solved it, they brought a scan 4 and they say, guys, I will have three windows depending on your app. Please, you can, yeah, feel free to customize it, uh, still being the Apple guardrails. So what Apple did, so once you started, Apple will send you one post like within 3 to 5 days. Okay, 72 hours after the user see, click, and do some activity on that. You get that. You need to cross some threshold. Okay, when I say threshold, it can be 20 installs, 30 installs, depending on which market you are running. And we need to collect the data. And that's what I say for like first week. First 3 days, we absolutely don't know what's going to happen. We have like we will it is a cold start. This run it out as a cold start. On day 3, on day 7, you will know, okay, the installs that has come has some LTV or not. Now after that, from 10 to 15 days, you will start optimizing to early LTV events. It can be the user is playing what levels. If the user is not going, like there's opening, playing, and just going off retention and all those metrics, you can start monitoring it. Then you have a second window. So second window will be again 7 to 15 days. That's is putting an assumption. Now, since the data is mature on that, now you can start looking at the long term value for that user, to install that marketers, from what channel the number, the LTV is coming, the volume is coming. Now you have ML system based on that. So ML system will start collating the data and start optimizing towards it. And hence we always say first 7 days, let's take the Let's bite the bullet. I would, as simple as that. Let's bite the bullet. Let's see the truth. What's happening after 10 film is a true picture that can we change the number? Can we move the installs or LTV in the right direction? Day 30, every marketer, I never say to any marketer, just look at D7. D30 is the most important thing. D60 is the most important thing. How to monitor it. So yes, and that's why these timelines comes in the picture.
So if we just replay that for a moment, take these three stages again. We've got the first few days. That's giving you a lot of information about the type of user you have. Around day 10 to 15, you've seen activations, you've seen actions, you have a much more granular view. And then around day 30, you know what you're dealing with. You can also test, I would imagine, some of your predictions around LTV because you have the reality check. So for each one, because it makes sense, first few days, 10 to 15, day 30, I'd like you to give me one thing that a marketer absolutely should do, or alternatively, one thing not to do.
Don't kill it. Just sanity check.
Just sanity
Just sanity
check.
check. Don't kill
Just
it.
leave it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one to write down. That's an easier one. Let's take the next one, 10 to 15 days.
Relocate. Just relocate the budget
Mhm.
where whichever channel is performing well, and for demand side, whatever data they have collected, they need to implement as a, if they have ML system. Yes, relocate the budget and go after them. Go after the post LTV number, post install metric number.
Okay. All right. Day 30, super important. It tells you a lot about your user, a do or don't
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, now testing period is over. If the result is positive for a channel, it will start showing up. So yes, for a
Hmm.
marketer, whichever channel is doing better in that window, start moving dollars there. And obviously, like, and nobody wants to test forever, right? So maybe 30, maybe
Yeah.
45, but I think day 30 gives a clear, very clear picture.
I like that. So sanity check at the start, and there's a reality check at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
actually. Lock in your winners. I'd like to just move on with this kind of discussion that we're having. We're speaking just the hard truths, just the straight answers. So, again, straight talk, talking about some of the things that I hear when I'm talking to marketers, not just for the playbook, but for all of the interviews I do. And I'll try some of the things that they're telling me out on you, and you can tell me, if it's a myth, if it's a truth, what to do. So, myth busting, right? A couple sentences, I'll say what they're telling me, you tell me your take, right? So, marketers, no question. A lot of them just say, just move budget volume onto Android. You don't need to worry about SKAN on Apple. It's an Apple problem. So, if you're on Android, I don't need to worry about it yet. What do you say to something like
I
that?
mean, no, privacy is a concern, and nobody can deny it. Apple tried to do it in 2021. Android gonna do is very very soon, and people are getting smarter. People are trying to go to limit ad tracking, the way they call it in Android. They're switching it off. So we are seeing the users who are removing, like, not didn't want to send the data, is improving. So I would say it is coming, and we have to prepare. And Apple has given a good guardrail, good platform to start testing it out when when Android comes in.
And privacy is cross platform. I think that's a really important point here.
You can't say that, okay, iOS has done, Android will never do it. I think it's coming very very soon.
Myth number two, I'll give you. And this is something that we touched upon at the beginning as well, because it's the point around the testing. The testing will tell you what works, the testing will tell you what the winners are. And marketers say, well, I can't do proper creative testing or retargeting under SKAN because the data is, it's disjointed, it's slow, it's noisy, it isn't what it used to be. And since I can't get my head around that, well, I just can't do proper testing.
I think you can, okay, with the new scan for so many combination. Yeah, we can do it, but it's just a different process. Yeah. People look at from a top down, and scan has given you bottoms up, plain and simple. So it is possible. The windows are different, different rules, but it can be done, and we have done it.
Can you share a little bit of that? You know, what you found? If you have to think in different windows or different checkpoints, just have to think about it differently. Maybe a little bit of what defines that different rhythm or what you've seen working.
If we had a agency customer and the biggest concern is, guys, the way our app is, we will do tons of creative testing, and if I go for scan, there's no way we can do it. And when we told them that, guys, it's just a different perspective, you will run three themes, okay, and I have 10,000 combination, so are you saying you're gonna look at more than 10,000 rows, right? And scan provide you 10,000 rows, right? The point is how your system is able to remove data blackout or regenerate the data blackout that we talked about, and people are very afraid of it. Yes, in non-scan world, things looks very simple because everything is on impression ID, auction ID, so you can merge and get all the details possible. But guys, we are talking about creative testing, okay? So it can be done in that number of combinations, and that's why I mentioned people think it's top down because you have every log level data, nobody looks at that, and marketer looks at aggregated numbers. Here also you will not have millions of rows to aggregate, it's just 10,000 rows. But I think in that those 10,000 campaign scan campaign IDs, creative testing or any sort of those things can be done. On retargeting is coming on scan 5, we are also very very excited about it. So yes, very less document on that front, so let's see how it goes, but I think by next spring it is coming and people will start testing it out.
That brings me to the next myth, and it's actually one of my favorites because it's like, don't worry, AI will fix it. That's where I'm hearing it more. It's just like, at one level, it's like, well, it's going to fix it, but I'm still going to have my job, right? So it's going to fix it. I'm going to have my job. Some myths in there, maybe a couple. We hear this one a lot. What goes on in your mind when you hear that that is what the way teams are thinking? You know, they're treating scan like something they can just throw at some black box AI model and it'll work.
uh, yes, we and I think AI will try to solve some of the problems, but AI is as strong as the data that we feed. So in Scan, there are two parts of AI. One is how to remove the data blackout or just refill the data somehow with an AI and then run model on top of it. That's how we should be thinking about as compared to traditional marketing that we used to do on publicistic or on Android, where you have everything, you have user profile and all those things, people can do tons of crazy shit. Here, no, and that's why privacy kicks in, right? So yes, AI will solve it, but the problems here are very different. One, you have to regenerate the data on which AI should will work, and that is very very tricky. And plus, what we have seen, scan, and I think that's the reason why Apple did it. It gives you a lot of noise to the models. Okay, so yes, we have to be a little worry about it. How don't take every calls in day 4 when you see the data start coming in. No, you have to be a little patient. Okay, here lot of the AI, the objective of AI is very different, so that's how I see it. So reduce the noise. That's the first thing we should do. Don't overreact to early signals that we get on scan. It should be subtle, and once we do it, I think AI will solve a lot of our problems on that, on scan optimization.
How are you seeing teams grapple with that? Because the first we heard we weren't going to have signal, talk about signal loss, and now we're talking about signal noise. You know, we are getting information, we are getting signals, we are getting data, but it is messy. And I guess that's what convinces teams at some level or has them believing that just, throw it at AI, let it sort it out.
The biggest problem that we face, at least in AdTech, where data is is corrupt. Okay, I won't say every attributed install that happens is incremental to the marketer, right? That's not right. Everybody knows it. They all work that, okay, hopefully 30% is incremental or 40% or 80%. So the noise on that front in scan is huge. So actual incremental increments that you are getting for your marketer is very very critical. So, and that's why I keep saying the noise here. User will download even if you don't show an ad. Maybe, maybe not. In traditional marketing, things are much simpler. But here, it is a little tricky because here Apple has taken the given the same policy for attribution, everything. So models here, if like same models as two DSPs are running, two demand pipe models, it should be same, really exactly the same, no noise. So on the other spectrum, I see yes there is a noise, but on other spectrum I also see actually the Apple is helping us on that, controlling that noise, right? So both perspective, I will say that, yeah, that's how I look at this.
I like how you see everything a positive here, Rajiv. It is challenging, but it is important to have the right mindset because of the opportunities ahead. We talk so much about full funnel growth, not just in the playbook, but in the market overall, entire conferences now that are dedicated to this. So we talk about full funnel growth, and that's where I want to take us next because when people say full funnel, they're still thinking funnel and they're still thinking very concrete steps at concrete stages. So they're like, yeah, I do UA at the top. I get my users in. Then, if there's time, if there's money, if I see potential, then I do retargeting later on at the bottom. But I'm hearing very different views about that. From where you sit, why is this mindset, or where does this mindset sit with what we're seeing in 2026, especially if we're thinking about marketing in a SKAN world, in a privacy first world?
We do both, right? We do both UA and retargeting, and definitely retargeting. Right now we are doing probabilistic, but if advertiser wants to have a pure value for the full funnel, I think they should be doing retargeting UA based on some window, maybe day zero, maybe day three, day seven. But there's no harm. Actually, we have seen much better user retention if user starts playing the app. Playing is a game. They are playing the ad. They're playing the game, and they're not paid for 2 days, and then just nudge the user so that user sees an ad. Oh, I did download it. Let me again play it. And I've seen a lot of user retention improving by just doing that. Okay, but again for some of the apps, maybe it is like D7 D30 depending on how advertiser look at their apps. Okay, but I would believe like we should be doing both things together. It cannot be done in silos. If they think that okay, my user base is anyway not growing, I've already exhausted everything on retargeting, I should just set down my retargeting. Absolutely no. And that's what I hear. Like a lot of we work with a lot of clients who are their apps are like 10 years old, their user DAU is decreasing, and they're saying, guys, I think retargeting, I should stop working. The problem is if they do it, their DAU will die much faster. Okay, so yes, I think people do, some marketers do understand it, some marketers have some myth around it, that does retargeting, should I retarget it on day one or day two or within 24 hours? I think it really helps depending on your app.
What is some of the lift that you can see? Because we've had companies in this series, and I've talked with other marketers elsewhere who are telling me some pretty solid numbers and arguments why you need to think about this, because one thing you can't ignore, that when you retarget earlier in the life cycle, you still have that brand recognition. It's like, yes, I saw this brand, I downloaded this app, so that there's a better chance to rise above the noise than to win them back or get on the radar much, much later in the cycle. So there's something to be said for being top of mind. What are some of the top results we can expect if we retarget earlier than sometime later?
I mean, again, app different, like very different results. Okay, but for some of the apps, like if I do true A/B testing, like literally true A/B testing, removing one segment of users, I will not do anything. That becomes your organic. Another segment where I'm running my user acquisition campaign, not nudging the user again. Set three again, my users who did download from my Aarki campaigns, and client have put a like inactivity window of like 28 days, but I want to nudge the user on day two. Set three, and you will not believe that set three is doing better than their organic users. Okay, and that's how I define, like, okay, it is working. I and set B and C. Okay, the problem is there are so ML systems running, so there is ML biasness coming in, right? Bidder biasness coming in. So the only way I think about it, all the users who go and download organically, they are the true increment. Okay, that's how your app should behave, and most of the marketers thinks that okay, we need to beat that. So if set C is beating set A. I think that's how I see the results. And in some places, again, like betting apps, okay, real money. If you look at, we have seen like as north of 40 to 60% increment. Okay,
Mm.
but yes, we did that very smartly. Like okay, if it's a game, then we try to nudge the user, bring back, show those creatives. We are lucky to have those creatives for those advertiser, and we also nudge that user. That really help us, like, or better offers. The user has been a purchaser day one but have not playing anything on day three. Thus the user with a offer creatives, advertiser not pay, but it helps at improving user acquisition ROI for us, and that really work for us.
So if we pin it down, and if I want you to finish this sentence for me, love to hear what your take is. The real cost of waiting too long before starting to retarget is what?
If you miss the cohort, maybe you will never get them back. Okay, so yes, guesswork in the budget, and might you learn it and then you find a sweet spot and everything is fine.
Of course, we are chasing those opportunities. And when we talk about the opportunities, when we think about retargeting and full funnel growth, more and more I'm hearing, which must be exciting for folks at Aarki, web to app. Web to app is big. You could do an episode only on it. Maybe I will, but we talk about it a little bit in the playbook. You also push us to think about it as a bigger part of the funnel. Do it again here now. This is your platform talking to marketers. What do they need to be thinking or understanding about web to app in 2026? How do they make it a much bigger part of their strategy? Because they want to own that journey. That journey is now more and more web to app as well.
I mean, again, definitely that we're gonna save the cost, right? Play Store fees and your Apple fees, they will save that flat 30%, whatever the fees is. So yes, and the thing is, like, it's about owning the whole journey, right? For the user, how he behaves on the paying page and all those things. So yes, it works really, really well. And imagine if you have an app, you're a marketer and you're doing an app where your 1% of the user is generating 99% of revenue, and there are lots of such apps. So it also bring a trust. Like, you can't just, like, people will is very happy to pay with Apple Pay or Google Pay, like, right? But if there's no trust with the user and the app, okay, because a third party publishing app will take the payment and all those things, if you are going in that direction, it bring the trust. And that is something that I heard from one of the marketer when he was talking about. That's the reason I don't ask them to give that third party link if the user has just spent $5. But if I'm seeing that user has spent $1,000 on my app, why not? Let him save that, and I'll give him back, plain and simple. And that really have a better belief in the users connect and with the publisher, and it really helps us that user is remain in the app and stay for longer. And that's a feedback also we have got from few other marketers. But again, it's very specific to couple of verticals.
And also, when you think about the number and variety of companies out there talking about D2C or hatching some very interesting strategies that I happen to know about that are coming down the line, it makes a lot of sense. It's not just about the saving of the fees, it's more about that journey and all the data that you can get so you can learn and grow and understand your users because now your app is a business.
Like, I'm seeing like a lot of people who like search for holidays. Like, let's take an example. Okay, uh, they they saw some of the those things on browser. Okay, just putting an example. We know that, okay, this is the same user somehow, and we try to target them, okay, on browser. And but they have an app. Then another thing becomes is, it's an experience. The app experience is much better. Okay, so that is also one of the things that we talked about, but again, very specific to different verticals. But one vertical was holiday booking, beach holiday booking, and they have a very good app. The problem is, like, most of the people come from the like sky scanners and all those worlds, okay, Google search and all those things. They have the data, but they don't know how they bring the user to the app. So that's also one of the things that I saw, that people are interested to bring their user, grow it via web, and putting out their own ads there, and so the user go on the app and do the transaction there. So I would say both ways. The people are have been I'm seeing the both ways, not just on gaming, also on non-gaming side.
So we've looked at SKAN, we've looked at marketing, and want to start to wind this up again, looking at where we are right now. So we're in Q1, and someone watches this and says, okay, I get it. I need to change the way I'm doing things. What is the one thing that they should change if they really want to be serious about privacy first growth and not just griping about the fact that we have to deal with it, but actually preparing, taking charge of this change?
I mean, first convincing that like especially on iOS side, retargeting is one of the things which I am trying to focus on, convincing them that even on iOS retargeting works. Okay, and it becomes very very important because most of the myth is like, guys, I don't have a device ID, you will waste my impressions, right? Like, you will waste my impression, and I'm saying no. You, why you think that? Look at that, look at your how your non organic user behave and versus the user you target. So that is where I think remarketers should think a lot about it, how they want to retarget users, especially on iOS side. There are tons of solutions coming in the market, and the numbers, if you look at, the numbers are much much better on iOS as compared to Android retargeting. It's just like the way Apple users are in the tier one markets. They are much more. They are much heavy in terms of IAP, as well as higher in terms of ad views, more higher eCPM. So they will make more money if they start retargeting. That's first, and start early. That's the second thing I would say. These are two things I will really want marketer to think and do this. Like, yeah, they should focus on that.
We talked about treating SKAN as a timeline, so not a blockout. There are things to do, and we went through them, exactly what you need to do at the start, somewhere at 10 to 15 in the middle, and day 30. You said it yourself, not waiting for perfect versions, get the basics in place now. Super important and smart and relevant not to throw everything at AI, and how to stay in the loop. And now, lastly, of course, full funnel is not UA now, retarget later. It's very different from that. And you're very different as a guest, I have to say, Rajeev, because you write blogs, you talk about this, you travel and tell people, tell marketers about this. Where are you seeing what they're getting most, or where they need to maybe focus most? If you had to give them a bit of a report card, where are the marketers you've been chatting with?
I do talk to go on a lot of client meetings, just like even it's not for selling, just know what are their problems so that we can solve their problems. Okay, so I think that's how I approach it. A lot of marketers, I would say, like they think the world is ad tech world is too complicated. In reality, it's not.
Mm,
So that's how I
okay.
start when I always talk to marketing guys. Don't tell me, I will get a tech guy and with whom you can talk and solve it. I'm saying no, no, no. Things are very simple, man. You look at ROAS, I will tell you how you reach their ROAS. Okay, that's how it is in this world. In marketers versus demand side or supply side, anything, I think is all the same.
I have to say, Rajiv, you're one of the more positive people I've spoken with about this. I usually hear this very sort of dramatic story about how things aren't the same, will never be the same, and we're all toast as a result. And that's not the case with you. So what do you draw from yourself, other than your frequent flyer miles, to keep this attitude, to keep this view? There must be something about you personally. Everyone is more than a title. What is it about you?
Oh god, I'm a Liverpool fan. Okay, that
Okay.
tells a lot. We believe a lot. Okay, yeah, I'm an yeah, hardcore Liverpool fan. I'm started following like 2001 till now. Won two victories, great. Personally, I have twin daughters, 5 year twin daughters, and a 3.5 year old son. So that kept me busy. Apart from whatever time I get from my current job, and I do like to travel. I'm a foodie. Uh, a foodie means proper foodie. I can eat anything. Okay, if it's good, any cuisine. So yeah, that's how I am.
that being grounded, that's what gives you this view, Rajeev. That is it, because this is about being grounded. This is about, I remember one marketer, it might have been Piyush Mishra, who is someone, marketer I also love to chat with because he has a big picture view of the world. And he was like, this is great. This means the end of mediocre marketing. And I thought, yeah, Piyush, that's one way of looking at it. Now we really do have to up our game. So yeah, grounded and focused
Yeah.
brings us through. And that brings us through the show, which is almost a shame. Time flew. I really did enjoy it. Maybe we'll have you back again, Rajeev, because there's so much to talk about. For example, AI and the black box, that is a show, a podcast on its own. So maybe we will do that. And in the meantime, thanks for taking time out from your travels to spend your time here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And for everyone else listening in, of course, we have been discussing Aarki's Full Funnel Growth Playbook, and you can find out more about it in the show notes. And in addition, Chapter 4 nails it. That is where Rajeev shares his timeline, his tips, his cheat sheet for growth in a privacy-first world.